Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com.
Explore historic waterways in 2025 with Scenic on the most inclusive cruise on Europe's rivers. Enjoy up to 5 dining experiences, spacious suites, and butler service. Be immersed in the culture with enriching free choice excursions and exclusive events. Scenic, in a class of its own. Book now and save.
Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, FishingBooker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, FishingBooker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. FishingBooker. Fishing trips made easy.
He's always one step ahead. I've heard his gobble echo through the pines at dawn, only to watch him vanish into thin air. One flash of feathers, and he's gone, leaving behind tracks, frustration, and a whisper of strut in the wind. Some say he's just a bird, but I know better. He's a master of evasion, a phantom in full fan. I call him the Longbeard. This isn't just a hunt, it's a saga. A game of cat and mouse with a cunning adversary cloaked in feathers and myth. My name's Townsend, Justin Townsend, and like any good operative, I've brought in backup, 00 agent Adam Berkelmans. He's notched a few successful missions north of the border, and today we're opening the case file on wild turkey. From the field to the fire. Get ready for tales of ambushes, almosts, and open tags. We're breaking down the history, the pursuit, the whole bird recipes that turn mission success into dinner, and maybe, just maybe, I'll figure out how to finally bring this gobbler to justice. This is the Wild Fishing Game Podcast.
Like smoke through the cypress trees, a whisper of wings on the morning breeze. I wait in the blind, breath sharp as a knife. One step from the shot, one step from his life. Feathers don't lie, but he always escapes. Just a ghost in the woods, leaving heartbeats and shapes. I've hunted him low through the shadows and sky, but still he flies, 'cause feathers don't.
Hello, this is M. Yes, sir. I have the update here. The mission began years ago as an assignment with no clear end date. Justin, our field agent, has crossed 5 states in pursuit of a single high-value target, Mr. Milagris Galapavo, better known as the Wild Turkey. Each location brought new intel, new terrain, and a new trick from the bird's playbook. California offered steep ridges and oak-lined draws. Texas, dust, wind, and birds that ghosted him before sunrise. Florida was thick with bugs and bogs, and the Osceolas laughed from behind palmetto walls. Colorado's birds disappeared into thin mountain air, and Virginia's gobblers, they just never showed for the rendezvous. The dossier says this bird isn't just smart, it's smug. Meanwhile, Agent Berkelmans, our Northern 00 operative, has managed to bag 3 suspects in Ontario. Quiet, efficient, lethal with a slate call. He's the kind of guy who eats his targets with wild rice and a side of foraged greens. Together they've assembled today for a debrief, war stories, culinary strategies, and field intel. The turkey may still be at large, but this episode, it's locked and loaded. Our best men are on it, sir. Yes, sir. I will keep you updated. Come in and sit down. Gentlemen, welcome back. We've been monitoring your movements closely, and it seems the target continues to elude capture.
All right, Adam, over to you for the history of this target.
Well, these turkey villains have been around for some time, but here's a timeline from MI6. So from about somewhere around 300 BCE to 1500 CE, the Aztecs and Mayans were eating and domesticating turkeys. They were domesticated through a lot of Mesoamerica, and also caught wild. The Maya and Aztec civilizations raised turkeys not only for meat and feathers, but also for ceremonial purposes. Turkeys were considered sacred in many of the cultures there, associated with trickster deities and rituals and plague deities. There's been a lot of mythology surrounding the turkey. Aztecs would ceremoniously feed captured turkeys to cage jaguars during rituals as well, which I think I'd like to be around to see. Archaeological findings show turkeys were often roasted or stewed and sometimes served with chili sauces amongst the Aztecs, who would also create corn dough to encase and bake entire turkeys all at once, which sounds pretty good. The Mayans, on the other hand, likely cooked turkeys in pits like the classic cochinita pibil, which is a pork dish, or wrapped in plantain leaves with corn and vegetables and steamed. Further up north, Navajo tribes were known to trap turkeys and keep them for a time to fatten them up. And it's likely they would use simple cooking methods like roasting or stewing. So they wouldn't fully domesticate them, but they would catch them and then feed them to get them a little fatter. By the 1500s, the Spanish arrived in the Americas, and the explorers encountered domesticated turkeys in Mexico and brought them back to Europe with them, Columbus included. Seafaring traders there from the Ottoman Empire played a big role in moving goods to Europe and throughout Europe. So the traders from Constantinople sold a large number of the turkeys that were commonly referred to in Europe as turkey birds for the traders who delivered them. So people thought that they were coming from Turkey through the Spanish and just called the bird turkey. In Turkey, the name of the bird translated to something like came from India. So in the mistaken opinion that they came from the east rather than from the west. And many languages still use this term, just like the French dinde, which is de India, or coming from India. They became so popular with Europeans that the colonists even brought domesticated turkeys back with them as they sailed to North America. To the colonists' surprise, the birds were already very abundant there. So they thought they were coming from Turkey and India, and they brought their domesticated turkeys back to North America to find that that's where they came from originally. It's pretty hilarious. By the 1600s in colonial America, wild turkeys were abundant in North America and quickly became a vital food source for settlers and indigenous tribes. Native American tribes such as the Wampanoag, I'm probably saying that wrong, and the Narragansett. Wampanoag, there you go. And the Narragansett hunted turkeys for sustenance. Colonists began incorporating wild turkey into their diets using native hunting techniques and preservation methods like smoking and salting. And many early settlers recorded flocks in Ohio, Missouri, and along the Oklahoma-Texas border that numbered in the thousands. Can you picture a flock of turkeys numbering in the thousands? That would have been wild to see. Yeah. 1800s, the frontier was expanding, and as settlers moved westwards, wild turkey remained a staple of rural American diets. Hunting then became more and more common, especially in the Appalachian and southern regions, which remains true still to this day. Turkey began to appear in cookbooks and household menus. Generally, it was roasted or stewed. And around this time, Benjamin Franklin actually advocated for the turkey to be the national bird of America due to its proud, proactive, and at times fierce demeanor. I think the turkey seems like a silly bird sometimes to a lot of people, but compared to the bald eagle, which is like largely a carrion feeder, and whatever, the turkey might have been actually a much more
trash-eating bird.
Yeah, I think the turkey might have been a better choice. Just doesn't have that nobility that the eagle holds. In 1863, President Lincoln proclaims Thanksgiving as a national holiday. during the Civil War, and roast turkey began to solidify as a centerpiece of the Thanksgiving meal, which represented abundance and American heritage and kind of mythology and a lot of different stuff. The 1900s, domestic breeds descending from the original Mexican turkeys, going to Europe, and then coming back and getting mixed once again with the wild breeds. So there's some really interesting mixing going on. That became very popular, like turkey farming. Industrial scale poultry farming expands after World War II, and so turkeys started getting bred larger and larger and larger for their breasts. So the modern day farm turkey looks a little different than the wild turkey today. Meanwhile, while the domestication was happening, wild turkeys started to really decline due to overhunting and habitat loss, and they almost vanished by 1930s, almost vanished altogether. Throughout the 1950s and into the 80s, conservation and reintroduction programs helped wild turkeys populations rebound across North America, including where I'm at in Ontario. That happened in the 80s, and now that we have lots of wild turkeys. Hunting seasons and regulations were established to manage populations sustainably, and wild turkey hunting became a respected outdoor pursuit and a source of seasonal meat for a lot of hunters. Today, there are more than 6 million turkeys roaming across North America, from Canada all the way down to Mexico, representing one of conservation's greatest success stories and a true testament to the North American model of wildlife conservation. And turkey is still enjoyed today for Thanksgiving all around North America.
Let's talk about what we're up against in terms of these villains, because there's more than just one. There's a bunch running around, and it helps to sort of set the scene and understand really what we're up against. So first up, the eastern wild turkey. This is probably the most abundant of the subspecies, and it's found east of the Mississippi River and all the way up into Canada. They have chestnut brown tail feathers and white and black bars on their wings. Usually the males weigh up to about 30 pounds. They have very strong gobbles. It ranges depending on the subspecies whether or not they gobble at all, you'll see, but these guys being the most vocal. They have very long beards. They're the longest of all the subspecies, and it's only second to the Osceola in difficulty of calling in, which I can totally attest to. Hunting eastern wild turkeys is commonly done by locating a roosting tom first. They will often scratch and feed in the forested areas before moving to the field. The edges of these two environments are great places to start your hunt.
I'm now aiming precisely at your groin. Says speak, offer of a hold your peace.
Osceola, or Florida wild turkeys, is a subspecies unique to the Florida Peninsula. They have dark brown tail feathers, mostly black wings with small white bands, and long legs. The males weigh approximately 20 pounds, so a little smaller. They have very long spurs to defend themselves with because there's a lot of predators. They have strong gobbles, although they typically don't gobble a ton just due to the amount of predators that are around. Their beard lengths are shorter than easterns, and they're considered a true test of a hunter's skill and are renowned for their quietness and difficulty in calling in.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
The Rio Grande wild turkey, found in the southwestern United States, including Texas, Oklahoma, and parts of other western states. They have a tan-colored tail feathers and black and white wing barring. The adult males weigh about 20 pounds. They're moderately sounding in their gobbles. They have moderate beard lengths and moderate spur lengths. They're known for their high-pitched, warbly gobble and willingness to strut and gobble for hens. They are often seen as easier to hunt than other subspecies. The habitats of these birds are often hard to access, though they travel in flocks during the winter, making them easier to spot. A common practice to lure these turkeys is to mimic the call of the hen to attract the toms.
Could I interest you in something?
Well, I'm tempted to say yes immediately. But I think maybe I'd better have a look around.
Please, go anywhere you wish.
The Merriam wild turkey. They inhabit the Rocky Mountain region and surrounding areas. They have white tips on their tail feathers, a bluish-gray head and neck. The adult males weigh up to about 30 pounds. They have the weakest gobbles of all the subspecies, the shortest beards, and the shortest spurs. Maybe a bit of a little man complex, too. The hunters must navigate the rugged terrain and master the art of their call to lure in Merriams. Start by looking for ponderosa pine trees and then head towards sloped areas where they commonly hang out in the day and evening. Due to the rough terrain they inhabit, your call will carry much further than normal.
Well, I'm truly sorry to have to dash off like this, but there's been a bit of a flap at the office.
What kind of work do you do anyway?
Oh, I travel, a sort of licensed troubleshooter.
Gould's wild turkey are native to Mexico and the southwestern United States, particularly the mountainous region. They have long legs. The adult males weigh up to about 30 pounds. They're moderate gobbles, beard lengths, and spur lengths, so just average. Gould's turkey present a balanced challenge and often reside only in remote areas. Hunt the edges of wooded areas with an open field in the spring or summer and begin your call early in the day. This species is fickle but can be mimicked and drawn in with patience.
Hey, what's up, happy people? This is Robert Arrington from Deer Meat for Dinner. If you're into bow fishing like I am, you need to check out Cajun Bow Fishing. I've been using their gear for years, from the Sucker Punch Pro to the Winch Pro Reel. It's tough, it's reliable, and it works. Whether you're just getting started or you're ready to take the step to the next level, head over to CajunBowfishing.com and check out everything Cajun Bow Fishing has to offer. I trust their gear because it works. So if you're hitting the water soon, make sure you're rigged up with Cajun Bow Fishing. You will not regret it.
Mic check, 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Now we have our targets in sight. Let's get down to breaking down our bird. Wild turkeys can be cooked whole, especially if you're doing some like deep frying. Roasted birds can often end up dry with like kind of tough legs and thighs. If you're cooking up like a hen or a jake, you might have better success, but the big toms are often very tough. So I like to break my birds down into pieces. And to do so, I use a sharp boning knife or a fillet knife to cut the meat, and a heavier knife or a cleaver to break the joints. You don't want to bust your fillet knife on a tough joint. Or, you can consider using a well-placed proximity mine, which will take care of it as well. Starting with the bird, breast side up, make a shallow incision from above the anus towards the keel bone. Widen the hole with your fingers until you can fit your whole hand in. Then you reach in and gently but firmly pull out the guts, including the heart, near the front of the bird. Cut around the anus so you don't have to cut through any intestine, and then separate the guts from the bird by pulling them all out. Save the heart, liver, and gizzard. For the gizzard, you can cut the muscles away from the grinding plates on the gizzard and dispose of the grinding plates and the stones and food in between. Then you're going to move up towards the breast, slice along each side of the keel bone, one at a time, following the ribs down to the back or the shoulders of the turkey to remove the breast and the wing. Break and cut the wing or shoulder joint, and then cut the wing off of the breast. Separate the flats and the drumettes of the wings by slicing through the joint. You're going to then move your hands down the bird, pull the two legs outwards and then downwards to break the hip joints. You should hear an audible pop or a snap when you do so. This will make it much easier to find the joint to slice it off. Slice the legs off, keeping as much meat as possible connected to it, and then separate the legs and thighs by cutting through the joint. And to find that joint, you're best off kind of manipulating it to see where the kind of the fulcrum is, to see where it's moving, and then cut through right there. Firmly snap the neck where it meets the chest cavity. Cut through any remaining tissue to remove the neck. Often the way we shoot turkeys, most of the neck will be compromised by shot and blood and everything. So sometimes your neck will be completely shot up. Other times you can save a good part of it. Now that you've broken down your bird, you should have one neck, two breasts, 4 wing pieces, 2 thighs, 2 legs, a gizzard, heart, liver, and carcass. And skin if you plucked it as well.
We all have our secrets. We just didn't get to yours yet.
Well, with so much left to prepare, I think it's only justifiable that we discuss ways in which to prepare the bird. So I would say one thing you want to highlight first is the brine. So this is going to help keep the bird moist. So there's 2 types of brine. You get your wet brine, which you'll use 1 cup of salt per gallon of water, and ensure that the salt has fully dissolved. A common way to do this is to heat your water up on the stove until it's pretty warm, and then add your salt in, and then allow the water to completely cool to room temperature or below before you submerge your turkey in it. This is going to prevent your turkey from cooking when you put it in the water. You can also add sugar, about 1/2 cup per gallon, and any aromatics you like bay leaf, onion, garlic. You can do that, but it's not really necessary. And you want to let the turkey brine for 12 to 24 hours. The longer you brine, the saltier it will be. So just understand that. On the opposite side, you've got the dry brine. So to do this, you want to calculate 1.5% of the turkey's weight. I would use metric, it's going to be easier, and use that much salt to rub over the entire bird inside and out. You can use sugar, aromatics in this rub as well. You're going to put it in a Ziploc bag, a vac bag, or some sort of sealed container and let it sit for 12 to 36 hours. The meat will reach a point where it won't get any saltier, unlike the wet brine. So dry brine might be a good option, especially if you're not preparing to cook it for a couple days. Tenderizing. This is going to be really important, especially if you have older toms that could be a little tougher. They can benefit from the tenderization. Marinating breast meat in buttermilk overnight does help to tenderize it, but also pounding the breast with a meat mallet is way more fun, and it can give you an even thickness, which will break down the muscle and fiber while it tenderizes. You can pound it down to about 1/4 of an inch for schnitzel and cutlets. And then another technique we discuss a lot. Velveting is another great technique for tenderizing. For stir fries, you'll use 1 teaspoon of baking soda per pound of meat, plus cornstarch and soy sauce. You can also use fancy gadgets like the jacquard, which will tenderize it by punching a bunch of little mini holes in there and allowing it to cook and be more tender. Speaking of gadgets...
Good luck out there in the field. And please return the equipment in one piece.
I think it's important that we cover some of these spectacular gadgets that Q has prepared for us to use against our target here after it's been captured and eliminated and chopped up into little pieces, which sounds more devious when you think about it. So the sous vide. The sous vide is a great tool that can be used for cooking all types of parts of the turkey. In this case, you can use it to cook the breast meat. You will sous vide it at 137 for about 12 hours, and it will provide you a very tender and juicy cut of meat. If you have a deep fryer, you can deep fry turkey, either whole or in parts. Ensure the turkey is completely thawed and dried. I've seen a lot of bad videos about turkey fryers catching on fire, especially around Thanksgiving. The water can cause dangerous oil splatters and intense flame. Use enough oil to cover the turkey completely when submerged, but not to overfill the pot to prevent it from overflow. Heat the oil to 350. Turn off the burner before slowly lowering the turkey into the oil to prevent flare-ups. And then once submerged, reignite the burner and maintain the temperature between 325 and 350. Fry the turkey for about 3 to 4 minutes per pound. For example, a 12-pound turkey would take approximately 30 to 46 minutes. You can use a meat thermometer to ensure the internal temperature reaches 160 in the breast and 170 in the thigh. Let the bird rest for 15 minutes before carving it up. Alternatively, if you've got more time on your hands, you can use the slow cooker or the crock pot. This is great for legs, thighs, and necks. Breasts can be slow cooked and pulled as well, but they can get a little more dry. Use plenty of liquid like wine, beer, or stock, as well as some fat like duck fat to ensure the meat doesn't dry out. Cook for 8 to 12 hours until the connective tissues dissolve and the meat can be shredded. Alternatively, the pressure cooker can do the job of the slow cooker in a partial amount of time. So season the meat, then put it in the pressure cooker along with some broth. Pressure cook it for about 30 minutes for tender meat. And then if you're really into flavor and hanging around a smoker all day, you can go that option. I would recommend brining the bird before you do this. Heat your smoker up to 265. Season the turkey breast. I'd recommend Harvested Nature's Upland Fowl Blend and place it close to the vent pipe in the smoker and smoke for about 1.5 hours. Place the breast in a tray along with some butter or fat, cover it with tinfoil, and put it back in the smoker until the internal temp reaches 160, and then let it rest for 15 minutes. For legs and thighs, smoke at 250 degrees for 2 hours, then slowly braise in a crock pot or in the oven with a sauce or aromatics until the meat is falling off the bone. These combination of methods is going to get you a lot of flavor, get you good tender. Instead of just putting the whole turkey in there and doing it that way, you can break them down into pieces and have like staged cooking, which is going to prevent you from having really dry pieces and really undercooked pieces, which is what will happen if you try to smoke just a whole round bird. Another technique for the smoker or the grill is the spatchcock technique, where you would remove the back and you can basically splay the turkey open, and it provides a more even cooking services. Just mind the temperature difference between the breast and the thighs to make sure you're not overcooking one and undercooking the other. You can always cut it off midway through and follow one of those methods I just mentioned. The grinder. So if you're feeling frisky, the grinder's the way to go. Debone and grind the legs, breast, and thigh meat to make turkey burgers, breakfast sausage. You'll want to remove as much tendon and connective tissues as you can before you're grinding, so not to clog up your grinder, not to end up with weird textures when you're eating it later. Pass the meat through the coarse plate and then through the finer plate to finish. You can also add bacon or pork if you want more moisture or juiciness, or you can add nothing and be more of a traditionalist and just enjoy the flavor that the turkey has. I would say to you, if you are a consumer of sausage, you can take recipes from our venison sausage book and utilize ground turkey in those as well. It will be a good candidate for that.
Okay, so let's get into some more cooking tips here. Starting off with the breasts, which can be deep fried like chicken. So if you're thinking of like your Popeyes or KFC kind of thing, you can definitely deep fry turkey the same way. I love it fried in on a sandwich, which I just made the other day, and it's delicious. You can grill it, you can smoke it, pound it, like we say, we can pound it to cutlets or schnitzel. And you can use those on sandwiches or in salads or in different methods, different preparations. You can cube it for kebabs. You can slice and velvet it for stir fry. You can grind it and put it in any of your casseroles or, turkey helper, whatever, that kind of stuff you like, or use it for burgers. You can braise the breast in a sauce. You can kind of butterfly them open, stuff them, roll them back up, and then bake or oven roast or pan sear them like that, which is a lot of fun. whether it's like a traditional Thanksgiving turkey stuffing, or if it's just like kind of a chimichurri herb sauce, anything like that would be good. You can also do kind of like the Kiev style with like cheese and ham and stuff inside, which is delicious. I think Justin has a recipe online for that on the Harvest Nature website. You can slow cook it and shred it, which is great. And you can put it in like wraps or on sandwiches or in salads, whatever you want. Or you can get fancy and start curing it. There's lots of things like you can do smoked meat or pastrami or different things like that with it. Turkey breast is a good candidate for that. And also tacos. You can just put any of the things I just mentioned on tacos and it's going to be delicious. So down to the legs and thighs, they can be smoked and braised, like we mentioned. You can slow cooked and shredded, ground, stewed, pressure cooked, or you can do a confit where you slow cook it in fat and then sear it and shred it or sear it whole for crispy, like you get it all crispy. Confit is a great option because turkey meat can often be quite dry, and cooking in fat like that will make it nice and tender. I wouldn't recommend, just like straight up grilling the legs, unless you want like a club to beat the next turkey with you go hunting when you go hunting, because it can be pretty tough. So you're better off just kind of like thinking you want to like break down those fibers and shred them. Once again, you can use those in a main dish and stews, pull for sandwich or tacos, salads, soups. The world's your oyster. The wings can be braised and smoked, or simply braised and fried to get them crispy. I really there's like a Cajun recipe for turkey wings, where you cut open the wings and you stuff them and then braise them in like a whole bunch of Cajun spices and then crisp them up in the oven, and they're so good like that. They're really good like that. If you don't want to go through any of those, save those wings for stock, because they're nice and meaty and lots of connective tissue and everything that's going to be great for stock. So don't throw out those turkey wings or leave them in the field. You put all that time in to get it, you can spend another 10 minutes pulling feathers off it for a moment, It's not a big deal. The neck can be used for stock. Another great option for stock. There's lots of going on in there, and it's going to create a ton of flavor. I like roasting things before simmering them for stock, just to get a little extra flavor. But if you like a clean white stock, you could just throw it straight in. But the necks can also be braised and then kind of eaten like corn on the cob. There's a lot of meat on the neck, and you don't want that to go to waste either. Then you're left with the carcass, which can be roasted and simmered for stock, and I do that every year. And you can use that turkey stock in turkey dishes, or make turkey soup or turkey stew, and everything. Layering those flavors on top of each other will make everything better. The livers can be made into pate or seared, added to dishes like dirty rice or giblet gravy or different things like that. The hearts can be grilled, stir-fried, added to dishes like dirty rice or giblet gravy as well. Since you'll probably only end up with 1 or 2 turkey hearts, I would recommend, if you're a goose hunter as well, kind of mixing them in with your goose hearts, and then you can have a bigger meal. They're similar, it's kind of similar size, so you can have a bigger meal with hearts. Or you can make yourself a nice little amuse-bouche with just the one. Gizzards, they should be slow cooked. There's a lot of chewy ass gizzards out there. It's because they're not cooked long enough. So slow cook it or pressure cook it, fry it, add it to dishes like dirty rice or giblet gravy. The feet can be cleaned, skinned, and added to stock as well, or used as dog treats, which I do sometimes. The skin, if you pluck them, can be rendered into turkey schmaltz. Very delicious. And the feathers can be repurposed into trophies or art, or in hunting aids like wings for scraping and beating or catching sight. So you can use the entire bird, and we really recommend that you do, because there's a lot going on there, and there's lots of awesome flavors, and it's just delicious.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV Insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Acura's all-new ADX, a compact SUV that isn't just built for one thing, it's precision crafted for everything. To escape the grind with available all-wheel drive. To go with your flow with available Google built-in.
Hey Google, turn it up.
Okay, turning up the volume. And crafted to be heard with an available Bang & Olufsen premium sound system. The all-new Acura ADX, crafted to match your energy. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Take your vibes and go.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC.
When the mission ends, the real work begins, as you've heard, because every bird deserves a recipe worthy of the chase. Here's some of our favorites. I'll start off with the turkey Kiev that Adam mentioned. So this recipe's been floating around Harvest in Nature for just a little bit. I think we first released it in a magazine, and then I later on put it up on the website because I wanted the broader world to experience it. So the dish is based largely on the chicken Kiev, which there's some controversy on where it actually comes from. Somewhere in Eastern Europe, the Russians claim it, the Ukrainians claim it, but the most common renditions of the origin story traces its roots back to a cafe in the Continental Hotel in Kiev, Ukraine, and that was around the beginning of the 20th century. The cafe was located in the hotel's basement and was a trendy eatery frequented by artists, writers, and musicians. This made the cuisine of the restaurant pretty famous. The origin story goes, once a very important dignitary arrived in Kiev from St. Petersburg. They stopped at the Continental. He went into the restaurant for a bite to eat. The maitre d' said to him so politely, "Your Excellency, I recommend the cutlets invented by our cook. They are very tasty." His Excellency muttered condescendingly, "Go ahead." Having received the order, the quick-witted cook immediately called the dish he invented rolled cutlets in Kiev. Chicken breast, rolled up in the form of a pie, inside a piece of frozen butter, rolled in breadcrumbs, and then deep-fried. They ate this cutlet with their hands, and so born was the dish Chicken Kiev. I admit that this recipe might be a little over the top with all the steps to kind of prepare it, but if you've spent a ton of time chasing your target and then finally bagged a bird, you're going to want to try this one out. It's pretty good.
And I recommend if you're out turkey hunting in the East and you happen upon some ramps while you're out there, because they tend to happen at the same time, replacing the chives and parsley in Justin's recipe with ramps. So you have like a ramp Kiev, and yeah, that would be super nice. I'm going to do one quite a bit easier. So if you want to just make, if you don't want to spend all day doing it, making the best meal of your life, but have something really good despite that, I have a recipe for wild turkey pesto melt sandwiches. So all you're basically doing, you're taking a turkey breast, cut it into 4 equal portions. I'm going to sandwich in between some plastic wrap and pound it. So we're looking for about half an inch or so. That tenderizes everything, makes it all even cooking. Then we're going to season it with salt and pepper, and you can do your favorite spice blend as well, like Harvest Nature's Upland Fowl, which would work great in this situation. You're going to lightly drizzle those cutlets with some olive oil, throw them on the hot grill, cook for about 5 minutes per side or until temperature is about 160. And then you're going to toast some ciabatta buns and mix together a little bit of mayo and pesto and spread it onto the buns. Put some cheese slices. I just use mozzarella because I don't want anything too flavorful to compete with the turkey. And put the turkey on top of the cheese. You can throw some tomato on it if you like. Close the sandwiches, and there you go. Those have been universally loved by everyone I've ever served them to and are super easy to make. So I recommend definitely trying those out. You can find those on the Intrepid Eater website.
I'm going to talk quickly about another, I would say, like pretty flavorful but easy and straightforward dish to make. This is by one of our contributors, Amanda Altman, and this one is Better Than Takeout Sweet and Spicy Wild Turkey. It looks and sounds phenomenal. For this, you're going to dice the turkey breast into bite-sized pieces and marinate them for 15 minutes in fish sauce and white pepper. I'm already loving this. You'll then mix flour with garlic powder, smoked paprika, and black pepper, and add it into a big Ziploc bag or container that you can shake in. You can take the meat out of the marinade, add it to the flour mixture, and shake it up until well coated. You're going to deep fry in probably 350 oil until golden, about 5 to 6 minutes. Remove the oil and set aside on a paper towel to soak up the excess oil. For the sauce, you want to heat up a pan on medium heat, add oil, add chopped garlic, and let it brown but not burn. Crank the heat to medium-high, add soy sauce, brown sugar, sriracha, and mix well together. Then add the turkey into the sauce and coat in the sauce. Turn off the heat, add fresh herbs, green onion, and shallots. Serve immediately while it's still crunchy. It is phenomenal over the rice. I would say if you want extra sauce, you could probably double that batch and have a nice saucy rice, delicious. Oh, it looks so good. There's like Thai chili peppers and all kinds of delicious things in there. Thai basil, and then using some turkey bone broth in the sauce. So if you've made stock with it, as you should, this is going to be a phenomenal, quick recipe that you could, I would say, arguably probably make in the field. You could also, too, if you didn't want to fry the turkey, you could grill the chunks after it was marinated and then toss in the sauces.
So I've got a recipe that uses the wings, which you don't see too often, and I wanted to create something that people could, make using the wings, and it's kind of like a really nice springtime dish. So it's wild turkey and nettle brothy beans. So brothy beans is kind of somewhere in between a soup and a pile of beans. So brothy, delicious. Uses nettle and wild turkey. So what you're going to do, you're going to soak some navy beans overnight, or you could use a can, but it's nice. It's better to use dry ones. And then you're going to add your turkey wings to a large pot and cover with water. Add a pinch of salt, a whole onion, some garlic, bring to a boil, and then reduce to a simmer, and simmer that for about 4 hours until the meat is tender enough to pull from the bone. You're going to shred all the meat off the bone, discard the bones, put the meat back into the broth, add the soaked beans, add some more garlic and some thyme, simmer for another hour until the beans are tender, and then you're going to blanch some nettle greens. And nettles are out at the same time as wild turkey too, so you can find that pretty much all over the place. Anywhere near water, they'll likely grow, or sometimes in your garden, which they always grow up in my garden and sting my hands. And the easiest way to know that they are nettles is by touching them, and if they sting the hell out of you, then it's nettles. So you're just going to blanch those for like 1 minute, wring the water out, and blanching actually kills the stingers, so you don't have to worry about it. Once they get that heat, they're gone. Wring the water out, then add them to the beans, along with a whole bunch of pepper, a little white wine vinegar, and then taste for seasoning, and you'll probably need to add more salt. And then just put them in bowls and give it a good glug of olive oil before serving. And this is just such a homey, delicious, comforting dish of like brothy, meaty beans full of nutritious stuff. So keep your wings and try that out. That's also on the Intrepid Eater website.
If you're looking for something like a little different, I think that this next recipe is going to be really exciting. It's another way to utilize the legs and thighs. So this is a recipe, spicy chipotle wild turkey deviled eggs, which every great party has finger foods. So your next party, you should be serving this on a beautiful silver platter because it's going to be tasty. But for this deviled egg recipe, it comes from one of our field staff writers, Lindsay Bartosh. Starts off with just a generic braise on the turkey legs. So she just places an entire turkey leg in the crock pot, sets it on high for 6 to 8 hours, and then just lets it slow cook in water and some salt. She does that because then it increases its versatility across all different types of dishes, that she's not pigeonholed into a specific flavor profile and really can use it for anything, especially things like this. So in addition to that turkey leg, you're going to want 6 hard-boiled eggs, sour cream, chipotle in adobo sauce, cinnamon, cumin, coriander, salt, and some fresh cilantro. Shred all the meat into bite-sized pieces. Take your hard-boiled 6 eggs, and once they're cool enough to handle, peel and slice them in half lengthwise. You'll scoop the yolk from the egg and place that in a medium-sized bowl. With the egg yolks in the bowl, add sour cream, the adobo sauce, and cream them together with a fork until smooth. Mince the chipotle peppers and add in to the sour cream mixture. You'll stir in the shredded wild turkey meat, cinnamon, cumin, coriander, and mix thoroughly to incorporate those spices. Taste it, add any adjustments to salt or the other spices if you'd like, and then place heaping spoonfuls of this chipotle wild turkey mixture back into the egg and top with fresh minced cilantro. And you are going to thoroughly enjoy it.
So for the last recipe we're going to dig into today, it's another thigh recipe. And this is for wild turkey thigh tagine. Tagine is a type of stew found in North Africa. A lot of Moroccan and Algerian recipes for it. Tagine is also the name of the dish, the clay pot that it cooks in, which is like a really conical pot that steams everything in a certain way. It's awesome to use one. I have one, but you can also just do it in a Dutch oven or like a classic casserole dish with a lid. So what you're going to do is season the turkey meat liberally with salt and pepper. You're going to sear it until well browned, and then sear some onion, garlic, ras el hanout, which is like a northern African spice blend that has like, cumin, ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, coriander, pepper, all sorts of stuff in it. You're going to take all that, throw in a cinnamon stick, some soaked apricots, then some tomatoes, chickpeas, turkey stock, and then all your turkey meat. And you're going to throw that all back in and going to stew it down. You can also add preserved lemon and pitted olives if you'd like, which is very North African to do that, but it's something not everyone's used to, so those are optional ingredients. You're going to bring that to a slow simmer, and you're just going to cover it and cook it slowly in the oven or on the hob for about 2 hours. If it's an old tom, you might want to cook for another hour on top of that. Uncover and stir everything together, and you have this incredible North African stew that has all these contrasting complementing flavors with like spiciness and sweetness and everything. I like to serve it with couscous, and I always like to add some harissa on the side when I'm eating these kind of tagines too. That's a really cool dish to bring out some different flavors in your turkey and to cook down your turkey thigh in such a way that's going to be really tender and super tasty. So I highly recommend it. That one is also on the Entrepreneur website.
We will include all the links in the show notes so you can go visit these recipes. But what we come to now is the climax of our story. Will I ever get my gobbler?
I admit killing you would be a pleasure.
You should have done that when you first saw me. But then, of course, the English don't consider it sporting to kill in cold blood, do they?
Don't count on that.
I don't know. We still have a few weeks left here in the Maryland opener. I spent some time in Virginia a couple weeks ago. Had a very stubborn turkey that I couldn't get to come my way. But, it's I think part of the adventure is the pursuit. I don't like the elusiveness or being evaded both this year in Virginia and in Texas. But either way, it's still been a fun adventure nonetheless. It's forced me to get more focused on practicing my calling, on finding sign and getting out and scouting and trying to find roosts and all those things. So it's really fun. But since we're graced with the pleasure of a 00 agent requiring 2 kills, Adam, let's hear your stories. Just kind of overall, you've got some turkeys under your belt at this point.
Yeah, so actually I have three turkeys on my belt now, which I'm pretty happy about, and I can't take full responsibility for them. I've had the benefit of having a a buddy mentor me, and he's quite the turkey whisperer. So my buddy Leith, who's invited me up for 2 hunts now. So I've done a lot of turkey hunting in the past with 0 success. And the minute I started hunting with him, I became successful. So this is actually probably the first time I've ever actually been mentored in hunting, and it makes a huge difference because I've just been blundering out of the woods for everything else for years. And to have someone actually show you how to do things properly, it really makes a difference. So he's been teach me how to call and teach me how to read the land and how to read turkey behavior. 2 years ago, I got a really nice big tom one day, and then we can take 2 turkeys in Ontario in the spring. So the next day I got Jake, 2 different properties, 1 shot and down, which is nice. Just hunting shotgun. He said, I'll call him in for you. I'll do all the work, like just to get in front of you, but you have to hit it and don't miss. So I had a lot of pressure. I was feeling the pressure, and I didn't disappoint him, which I was happy about. Then this year I went back out again to visit him. It's a bit of a drive, but it was well worth it. We went to one property where he wanted to remove a Jake, smaller Jake, from a kind of crowd of them. So this property we're hunting in like a blind, and we spent about 4 or 5 hours and the wind was just whipping. It was freezing cold. Couldn't hear any gobbles anywhere. Nothing's reacting to our calls. We're just kind of getting ready to not give up, but just kind of discussing, should we move? Should we do something different? And we finally heard a gobble. So we hunkered down, and he called, pretty sparingly, and we sat there for a while yet. And both of us had to pee so bad, but we knew the turkeys were kind of getting close. So we didn't want to rustle around in the tent or anything. And just when we were both kind of like, okay, we're just going to do it really quick, pee out the window of it or something just to get them, the turkey just came right around the corner. The turkey ended up coming in on his side, and we were waiting I was on the left side and he was on the right. So the turkey came from the right. We were waiting for it to kind of get in front of us so I could take the shot. We just had like a hen decoy out, and he was amongst 2 other Jakes and a hen, and they got spooked about something, and they didn't want to, cross in front of the blind. So my buddy motioned me to put my shotgun through the little side window right beside his head. So he kind of ducked and covered his ears, and I got the turkey. I had about 1.5 seconds to get the turkey in my sights, and I just forced myself to pull the trigger instead of overthinking it, and hit him dead on and dropped him, kind of somersaulted for about 15-20 feet, and then the other turkeys just kind of hung out. They didn't really notice. They kind of jumped a little bit when I shot, and then they just kind of hung out for a while. So it was funny because we were both still had to pee so bad, and these damn turkeys were just hanging out in front of the blind, and we didn't want to, scare them off because you kind of train them to be scared of humans in that sense, and they weren't afraid of the shot. So we just kind of hung out and waited another 15-20 minutes until they eventually wandered off, and then I'll tell you that pee was about almost as good as getting a turkey in the end. Been holding for hours. So the next day we got up again. We were going to a different property, and it was we left at I think 3:30. So we got there at 4 a.m, and we were walking out. It's like a 1.5 mile or so walk, maybe 2 miles. And we noticed there was tracks and this place should have nobody on it at all. It was like a farm field that has a gate with no trespassing signs and everything, where we had permission to hunt. We found footprints with dog tracks going down the sand road. So we figured someone had been in there evening before, which is no good because they're spooking the birds probably. It was pitch dark, but we found a spot to sit, and I was just using so we weren't in a blind this time. I was just using the kind of the vest that has a swing down ass pad. You kind of got hunkered down inside of that, and then as happens when you're hunting, the daylight showed up, and we're like, oh shit, we're completely exposed here. But the birds were coming out. A bunch of hens flew down from the roost. The toms were gobbling, so we didn't want to move. And then a nice big tom came out, a few jakes and some hens, about 120 yards away or so. And the tom was gobbling back into the woods bit, so we figured there was another tom, and that was the case in the end. But they knew there was something up. We were a bit too exposed, and they were just had our eyes on us the whole time. So we were like stock still. They were way at a range, obviously, for shotguns. So we were just waiting, hoping they can come in, and just sitting stock still. And those birds, at one point, every single one of them was looking at us. Like if one put his head down, the other would come up and look at us. And we just sat stock still without moving at all for like 2.5 hours or so. And my tailbone had slid in between the vest and the ass pad, so it was just sitting on the ground, and I got to be so painful, I just wanted to scream the whole time. It was so painful, and we just sat there not moving, but we couldn't get those turkeys to come, and they eventually buggered off after a few hours, which was disappointing. But we had noticed all the turkeys were kind of coming in and out of this one corner, and we weren't set up really well to get to that corner, so when the turkeys went back into the woods, we quietly moved over and set ourselves up beside that corner, hoping we could catch them on the way back out again, only to see the turkeys pop up across the field, like way across the field, way early, like 400 yards or something like that. So then, we sat there for a bunch of hours. My buddy tried a gobble call, and nothing showed up. And he said he whispered something, and I looked behind, and there was a tom right behind us, like 10 yards behind us in the woods, just completely snuck up right behind us. And right when it saw me turn around, like the brim of my hat, which is something I learned. He said that, I usually wear like a brimmed baseball hat. He said when you turn your head, you're changing your silhouette. Where if you wear like a round hat, like more of like a Navy SEAL kind of bucket hat, they can't see the silhouette change. So that's a little trick for you guys. If you wear baseball caps when hunting turkeys, probably don't do it. I'm not going to do it anymore. But I turned, he saw my hat, and took off, and that was our only chance at that tom. He was long gone. And then we sat for a whole bunch more hours, and eventually we were going to give up, and the turkeys were on the other side of the field, never came out, refused to come over, knew something was spooky. So we did a bit of a commando walk on the bush line, trying to get close to them, see if we could jump shoot them. Because we had to pass them on the way out anyways, so there's no way we could get out without being seen. So we figured we might as well try for a jump shoot. And we got up to where they were sitting, and I saw the tom's head pop up and ducked back down behind a dirt clod. And I snuck around, and I popped up, and there was 3 hens sitting there, and I scared the 3 hens. So I was able to creep up on them, but the tom had slunk off somehow without ever raising his head. So we did it was a 13-hour sit, which is pretty brutal. I was sore and cold, but no turkeys. But in the end, it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot that day, which is really important. So yeah, I had a great time, and I still went home with a bird, a nice Jake. So I was pretty happy. Yeah.
Nice.
There's my turkey story for this year.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, hopefully I'll have one to tell. I'll have one to tell at some point, but until then, alas, I will keep our status as in progress because I haven't caught the villain yet. But I think that this turkey thinks it can hide, but I've got a license to grill.